Often I get asked, what does it take to become a great CFO? In other words, if you as a business owner were going to hire a CFO to either work for your company permanently or on a fractional basis, what are the qualities that you should look for that will help guarantee his or her success in that role to guide you as a senior financial executive in your company? Well, I think there are three qualities that obviously are key. But before we get into talking about those, I'll say initially that certainly this individual has to be a skilled financial executive. They need to understand finance, not just accounting, but finance, how money moves within a company, how it moves within a bank, and how you need to develop those relationships with your suppliers, your customers, and with your bank so that you can be successful financially. But that's a given. Nobody would even talk about that being a CFO if they didn't truly understand finance. So let's talk about three other qualities that I think are key. The first is that a CFO needs to understand operations. A good CFO isn't just a finance person sitting in a room playing around with spreadsheets all day long or looking at financial statements and moving numbers from the income statement to the balance sheet and back again. There's only one way you change profitability in a company, and that's by changing operations. So, as an example, there was a printing company that we worked with that was having difficulty making a profit. And one of the things we did was dive in to understand what was happening with that company's production so that we could understand why they weren't making any money. And one of the things that we did was take a look at the profitability of every single product that they produced, every single production run that they had, to determine what the actual cost of operation was and whether they were making money and whether that matched the estimates or not. If you don't understand operations, how can you possibly judge whether a company is being profitable in the work that it's doing in creating product or services for its clients? So, operations is the first. The second is technology. Technology is the key to collecting data for any company. This isn't just a matter of understanding what a particular software product does. And often we get calls from companies that say, are you familiar with this particular software? Because we're looking for a CFO who understands our software inside out and upside down. Well, I'll be honest with you. There are so many software products out there that there's no way that my CFO team or any CFO can know what all software operates and how it operates. The key, however, is to understand how technology operates to gather the information needed to be able to provide answers of how a company is operating. So, as an example, we had a company that was a client of ours that was working selling product through Amazon.com. And one of the problems they had was that they had developed a technology tool that they were using that calculated the price that they should sell any product at by comparing what those products were being sold for by other competitors of theirs. Well, that's all fine and dandy, but there was a problem with their model in that it didn't take into account all of the ancillary costs, the channel costs, the marketing costs, all of the charges that Amazon charged them. And so we found out in actuality that they were selling 50% of their products for less than what it cost them to acquire them. The key was being able to understand how that product, how that software that they had created worked so that we could determine what needed to be done to be able to understand what the profitability was and to be able to determine what that selling price should be. If you don't understand technology and how software works to do those calculations, there's no way that you could understand what their profitability should be and what their selling prices should be. The third thing is creativity. A CFO is an accountant and a finance person, first of all. And I think anybody who knows an accountant will sit there and say that, well, they're not exactly the most creative person they've ever met. Well, when I'm looking for a CFO, the thing that I'm looking for is somebody who is creative. Because the key is, it's not just a matter of looking at the financial statements and understanding what the peaks and valleys are and where the variances are that you need to adjust or need to look at to determine what's wrong with them. The key is to take a look at those variances and determine what it is in those variances that's keeping that company from being profitable or that you need to change to be able to improve profitability in the organization. And then you need to be able to take that information and work with the customers and suppliers that you have so that you get the best result for your company. An example was a company that we were working with that had a large accounts payable balance with one of their with their primary supplier. And the primary supplier said, well, you have to pay this all off now. It was several $1 million. And there was no way that we could pay that off. And so we put together a plan that would allow our company, our client, to make regular payments of interest and principal to pay that loan down, pay that accounts payable down over a period of time, while we still were able to maintain a line of credit with this supplier so that we could continue to do business. Being able to sit down and negotiate with that supplier so that we could get the information we needed from them to be able to convince them that this was the right way of doing things allowed us to save them as a supplier and keep the company solvent so that they could remain profitable and return to being the strong company that they had been at one time. And so, as we look at what it takes to be a great CFO, there are certainly those three things that are important: an understanding of operations, an understanding of technology, and certainly the ability to be creative to find solutions to problems that the company is facing.